to part 3 of the Yieldmax series. All right. So I'm going to have one more after this. I'm hoping on Sunday I talked to a options professional on Seeking Alpha. Figured, hell, I'll reach out to a few of them, see what happens. So we'll have that interview. Hopefully it works out. He's traveling, so he's going to try and make it work. I think he's in Africa, he said, but he's said he wants to do it. So I'll either release it or maybe we'll turn it into a live stream. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. So this will be 4 parts. So today we've gone over the prospectus. We've done an overview. Now we're just going to look at YouTubers, who's out there talking about what regarding Yieldmax and TSLY. So this is the Portfolio Manager Jay Pestrichelli. I think that's his name. So here's an interview. Like this little tiny 200 sub channel, which is
a question come up and
kind of crazy that he would go on one of these small channels like this. So there's one part I want to have you listen to. So we'll get to it. So the question is, the biggest flaw of covered call strategy is that there's a deterioration of the NAV of the fund, which means they're taking funds, they're paying them out to you. So the actual assets of the fund are deteriorating over time, the NAV. So that's, he has a very polished answer because he gets asked this all the time, right? And this guy will show his background. This is what he does, options and hedging. This is his life. So of course he's got a good answer, but we'll listen to his answer here. So
movements in the ETF, right? You're getting paid the high dividends for these ETFs because you're taking a position in a volatile stock. And all of the Yieldmax ETFs are running a covered call strategy, essentially a covered call strategy. Well, a covered call strategy will pay you for giving up some of the upside while still keeping all of the exposure to the downside.
Like you say, he's not hiding what this does. It's not like illegal or any sort of grift or something. It's in the prospectus, and he says it in every interview. People just choose not to pay attention to this part.
And so, the tickers that we're running Yieldmax on can have fairly, volatile swings, right? We just watched TSLY go from 299 to sub 200 in a period of 2 or 3 months. That's pretty volatile, right? Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, in a covered call strategy, you've got all the downside risk and you're limiting your upside, and that's what you're getting paid the yield for. So what I would say to somebody in that scenario is, yes, you're getting paid a high dividend. You have to be comfortable with the underlying risk first. And then the next thing is you should be reinvesting those dividends, because when you want absolute return, think about this as kind of growth.
So this is where he's well aware. This is just not a dumb man. He knows you're decreasing the NAV. The share price will go down. And then also you have less assets to write and do these options, which means you're going to have less money to pay as you lose some months. And so he knows the distributions are going to go down. So his answer is, well, you have to reinvest the the distributions that we pay you to maintain the level of income provided by TSLY. Do you see the flaw here? Like, if you think this is a fire fund that you're going to be able to live that, like, F your job and go out and go hike and do whatever you want, he's literally telling you it will not maintain that level of income without reinvesting what the distributions are they're giving you. So it's this weird cyclical loop that they're creating here. They give you money, and then they're telling you have to just give it back to them, but you get more shares, right? That's how they're selling this.
You actually need to continue to add to your shares, because it's about your portfolio value, not the value of the underlying.
Now, while you're doing this, you're paying taxes on that. A lot of taxes. Okay. If you held this in a normal brokerage, my God, please, I swear, don't do this in a Roth. Don't do this in a Roth.
ETF. Like, I get this question quite a bit, and I think that's what you're alluding to, Coach, is that, hey, are you going to have, declines in the NAV? We call it, is it an eroding NAV? I don't love that term, because this isn't like.
He doesn't love it because it's the biggest flaw of this whole ETF. So he has to have a spin for it. Do you see this?
Leveraged erosion. This is, decline because of the tactic we're using.
Capital destruction. How about that? We called it yesterday. Capital destruction for short-term premium.
Of a covered call. But you should be, you have to manage the cash that this strategy kicks off. It's not.
So you got to get the distributions given right back to him. Okay, cool. So we'll look. This is the guy, the main guy. This is who you'll see in the interviews, the portfolio manager of the sub advisor who's doing the strategy. The main advisor is not doing this. So like, first of all, he's not no Wall Street, no investment banking background. So he was a electrical engineer by school, and then he got a bachelor's in behavioral science. Again, no financial education. Like I have an accounting degree, and I have a business minor. I mean, I have more education in this than he does. And then he was customer service, okay. And then he some sort of customer service job slash day trading desk job at TD Ameritrade. So again, didn't work on Wall Street, none of the big firms. Then he ran his own buy and hedge LLC. He wrote a book or co-authored a book. So this hedging stuff is like, this is his life. This is his niche, just like moat is the niche of Pacer, right? These ETFs get a moat, or not a moat, Jesus. These ETFs get a specific style of investing. And then once they've like trademarked and patented that that's their investing, then they just slap it on other benchmarks usually. So this is their thing. And they're going to make a lot of money on YieldMax, but not you, but they will. Because 1% management fee is pretty dang good. If they can get $1 billion under management, they're doing good. So we look at that. We can look at, here's the thing, there's how many these YieldMax funds are day traded. Every day they're creating, they're selling puts, they're writing calls, they're selling calls, they're doing all this every day for all the YieldMax funds. And there's like what, 10 or 12 YieldMax funds, and there'll be more because they have to keep putting more out there as the other ones lose value. So how many people are running this? Let's look. Okay, let's assume he's writing contracts. The director of trading is probably helping too. Communications director, she's not. Business development guy, no. Compliance isn't. Director of trading, he's probably helping. ETF trading manager is probably the primary guy. Investment advisor rep, he's not. Ops, client service. So they have 4 people running all these. Again, that's not very, it doesn't seem like a lot. So we'll look at some people that talk about this fund. So there's this guy. So he does like, he literally follows the contracts they're producing for this fund, and then he like tracks the losses, the debits and credits, and all the math. So I'm like, why don't you just do it yourself and not pay them a 1% management fee? I swear
I saw what I do is
I don't know, like, is he actually invested, or did he just find his niche that he's got 5,000 subs, he gets 2,000 views every time he does these videos? Maybe, hey, that's a good YouTube life, right? So
let's talk about price.
So there's a lot of red.
Up.
They don't do well sometimes.
Goes up, and we're sitting here with our. I have to mention that to the end of the year.
I'm not going to show you all these videos.
The price is.
So he does all this. He has a video. He does the Defiance ones, which is the same crap. I'll probably do a video on them later. He does have a video earlier on about explaining like what they're doing. I probably can't find it. What am I doing? So you can see he's big on these covered call, TSLY, YieldMax. He has a Devo video. So so again, it's like he's just wrapped his whole channel around covered call ETFs. It's just kind of fascinating. This guy, okay, this is the one. Oh my goodness. Let's go to his oldest. I love the oldest button because when you find these channels, go to oldest immediately. See what they used to make. So he made like sports trading card videos. Oh, look, crypto. Oh, that's great. He did Shiba Inu videos. Oh, Bitcoin card. Oh, that worked out great. What else we got? Something about, more cards. We got sports cards. We have Yu-Gi-Oh cards. We have Pokemon. Oh, that's great. Let's see. Any investing? Oh, look, he bought a Tesla. Fantastic. Oh, now we're into eBay and VV. So whatever that is. So eBay and VV. Now we're into comic books. Okay, this is great. We're 1 year ago. We're a comic book guy. Now we're doing movies or something. Now we're doing, comic book cards. I thought I had these when I was a kid. I didn't realize this was still a thing. Oh, eBay. We're doing eBay now, 7 months ago. I'm still waiting for, okay, here we go. 2 months ago, YieldMax. He finally turned a page. Now we're going to be an investing YouTuber. All right. Look at look at before 80 views, 100, 150, 100, 2,000, 2,000. All right. He found his niche. Now he is going to be all about covered calls. The views tell you where to go. But let's see.
Going to come back up.
Let's see what he's going to, the first video. What's he going to talk about?
The thought of it.
So
Never had the. I don't think
cover
that's
page.
worth it with
Cool.
the amount of risk.
Cover
Now with AI lower, and then the one that was just released is Pfizer because it.
Now we're going to show 13 grand. So of course, 70%.
I have a lot of Pfizer and
great when you
Realty
have
account in
13
my
grand.
E-Trade account.
If you had more money, you'd probably be acceptable to DGRO's distribution. So again, that's a trend I see.
Thing
Not
I've
a
been
lot of
buying
capital.
this on the dips. This thing.
Oh, we're looking at the
if
chart
you go
now.
back. It's been around.
Are we
year,
doing TA now? Are
and
we doing
in a year, it
TA on an
started at
option
20,
writing ETF?
and it instantly dropped to 30. But your maintenance. These are just some that
no prospectus, no understanding of what the ETF does. So we looked at the cover page and the chart. Okay. This guy actually does talk about some of the negatives in some of his videos, so it's not as bad. He's brand new channel though. It's only 6 months ago, and he does all this covered call stuff. He sounds like a young guy, but he does a lot of these clickbaity, videos. 25,000 invested. And then, of course, in the thumbnail, you can see it's all about that. You got to show that payment. You're getting them excited. It's like, oh, 25 grand, I can get $1,200 of payments. Wow. It's like you're building that fire narrative that people could tangibly see. With not that much money, you could retire, which is all a fallacy. And then he does the typical how much money you're going to get per month. So there's this. It's just like, I don't know what we're doing here. Yeah. So more. Oh, this clickbaity. Turn 1,000 and 10,000 fast with TSLY. I got news for you on the charts. Stock price is going down. Distributions are going down. So good luck with that. Turning that. But anyways, so there's that channel. He does at least briefly talk about the negatives of TSLY. Give him that. There's this guy again. It's the same guy. He's in the first video, but I just want to show you like look at all the Yieldmax. He found his niche, right? That's all he does now. 1 month ago, it's all Yieldmax videos, and he's getting 1,000 views. He got to interview that the Yieldmax Portfolio Manager, and he does dividend updates about what it's paying. But I didn't see him talk about actually the process, like what they're actually doing. No talk of like the negatives of Yieldmax and the risks. They just want to talk about the payouts. So there you go. This is funny to me. Like, so this is on Yieldmax's website talking about distributions this year up to like I think it's September. Information contained distribution paid on September 18th, which is just funny as I look at it. It's going to be a return of capital distribution payable on 9/18/2023, and then you go there. So it's going to be a return of capital. It's like, I understand that return of capital is like a tax benefit. You're like, oh, for the taxes. Like, I thought we were buying things that appreciated. I thought we weren't giving people money and then they give the money back to us after they take a management fee. I thought that was the point of investing. So here you go. Capital, look at it. Destructive return of capital. So that's what I'll tell you. Capital destruction. So it's simply your own capital being returned to you. They're paying back your funds. So there you go. It erodes the investment portfolio's future earning power. So there's giving your money back. Cool. What a blessing. Here's another guy. This is a small YouTuber. So he was doing portfolio updates. He was just showing what his portfolio had, get 100 views each. Cool. And then all of a sudden it's like, boom, update, Yieldmax ETFs and NEO. So now we're
where my money is.
So let's see. Surely he must tell you why he bought these ETFs.
SOXL.
So we're showing our portfolio.
And TS.
Okay.
I'm gonna buy more too. So
he's showing you what he bought. He buys direction stuff.
That
love of God,
guys, is Google, Amazon, Apple, and
all right. We got a chart of distributions. Okay, that's not helping us why you bought this.
So pretty close to me every month. Try to actively.
We got the cover page. There you go. You've seen this before. Every one of them shows that. Now we're still showing the portfolio. Now we're on to the next fund. Okay, nothing. This guy. Here's another guy. He's a college student. So he has an introduction video. He's a college student. with a economics degree, and he wanted to do a channel about budgeting and finance. So we look, don't buy Bitcoin. Okay. So don't buy Bitcoin, but buy covered call ETFs. Like, if you gave me the choice of buying Bitcoin or covered call ETFs, and I have to hold them, Bitcoin all day. Like, you should have stuck to the crypto, buddy. I don't know why. Why are you doing this? Just buy indexes that appreciate over time. Like, you don't need this income. You should be working on your college degree and getting into a profession that will give you benefits that you can then reinvest in the markets and have a good living. This is so unnecessary. So this is what's out there. I don't know what calls to these people with these cover call ETFs. So otherwise, well, other than that, you get to put the flashy dollar amount on there of the distributions. So TSLY, I'm buying more. Dividend income, huge announcement. Let's see.
How's it going, guys? It doesn't purchase
page?
stocks in Tesla,
Okay.
but it does $1.07.
Ooh, we're getting the dividend. Look at that. He's living the good life. We're getting those payments.
It does give.
How not to lose money. So
Now, for the year of 2023 and the first year that it started giving out dividends, TSLY has so far given out 9 dividends. 9 months, roughly 82 cents.
Okay, just showing
Of course, it's a little bit,
which is funny because you're looking right here. It started at 99. Now we're going down to 58 cents. So he's literally seeing the deterioration of the payments right here.
skewed with the high return of July, which overall also has the market
We're
as
showing
in
charts.
recording
I
this
guess we're
video.
doing
If you see on the
analysis
screen,
now.
TSLY has dropped since inception. It has dropped 35.5%.
Yes.
Yes, that's a good amount of money. But if that mean, well,
All
they're
right,
pretty
hey,
much
we got
buying
some
calls on
information.
Tesla. They're then selling puts on Tesla. My
Back to
strategy
the cover
be.
page.
Well, my strategy for TSLY is
$1 of cash and the stock goes
It
down
shows
to
an
19.
interview I'm going to show
Well,
later.
if you don't category
So I'm
portfolio, right? I mean,
zero contribution from your end, and the year you
Go
would
back
have
to
ended
the-
with 203
I don't know what he's
and
showing.
be taking.
So we don't know why he bought it. We don't know anything about the fund. There's nothing he showed you to give you information about it. Okay. Now I'll show this is Darth Dividend. So he bought it. Darth Dividend. So you probably know him if you follow Ryan Williams, you'll know this guy.
So TSLY strategy ETF. Do not expect this to beat the S&P 500 and
No,
do not
it never
expect this to beat Tesla.
no,
This
never
is
will.
for income purposes only. I'm going
income.
to say this one more time. Officially a graduate. So I went to the ceremony.
So he understands, sounds like so far.
I have like 5 or 6 grades that need to be graded, finalized, making a lot more passive income with options than
So like I look at this, I'm like, why not you can look at the chart. Why not buy the S&P 500 or Tesla? Like, look at this. Like, you see it. It's right in front of you.
A. Now the funds.
So now we're looking at the fact sheet. This isn't a prospectus. This is just like the fact sheet's like 2-page brief summary of what's in this thing. Gives you the investment objectives and the fees, basically.
Now, one thing real quick is on its
It's not really
total
much to
return
look at there.
is their dividend
All right. Historical payments again.
and distribution per share is 83%. So it's still
83%? 83 cents.
consistent in the 80s and 90s. The worst it
Did he say consistent? Well, he missed out because the next month it went to the 50s. It's not consistent at all.
was is 44. You're not going to see
He's looking at the
E-Trade
holdings.
right
Okay,
now.
we're back to
So
distribution.
recently,
Now he's showing his
just with TS Invest, but I reinvested that into TSLY.
okay.
So I'm going to show you now the estimated income on my E-Trade.
Remember what we said though, you have to keep reinvesting the distributions back into TSLY. You can't stop that because they deteriorate. So you have to keep buying more shares with your investment to keep the income level that you'll never receive. Because if you take it, you're going to start having the deterioration right away.
Dividend TSLY. So that's going to be reinvested back into TSLY. And eventually I'm going to load up on this and then I'm going to 92 cents.
Wait, did I miss
This
that?
month it appears with TSLY. So that's going to be reinvested back.
All right. So unrealized loss 1%. All right, so it hasn't
Back
affected him
into
yet too
10.
bad.
It's a high.
What the hell's the clip? Oh my god. So there's that. This guy's a big dividend YouTuber. I don't really have. I'm not going to talk about him specifically, but he does in his interview with again the same guy he's been interviewed like everywhere. Which would make sense because this guy's a big YouTuber. So this one would make sense for him to be on a channel with almost 70,000 subs. They do go through the risks, which is good. We'll listen a little bit.
So, okay, so I have an important question for you. One, you kind of see, you know, when Tesla drops like a rock, Tesla will drop like a rock also. It's only normal.
Sure.
But then when it goes back up, you're not really capturing all of it.
Mhm.
And then if it drops like a rock again, you're capturing all of it. So like people are worried that you're just gonna have this downtrend going all the way down to oblivion. And that's why my earlier question was, do you reinvest some of it or do you give it all out? For example, there's
Reinvest
Global
a lot
X
of it.
with QYLD, very, very popular. They do at the money 100% coverage, but they only give out 1%. The rest gets reinvested.
Yeah, I'll talk about that separately. I'll do a ETF of QLD at some point because that's like one of the older, stalwarts of this whole space.
Right. So in this case, in the yield,
You're making perfect sense. You've identified the risk of any covered call strategy. Absolutely. QILD has the same risk. Yes, they hold back a little bit on their monthly, but they
yeah.
capture even less on the way up, right? So
Yes.
let's picture how this is used in a portfolio.
So he's trying to tell you if the stock rockets, YieldMax will perform better in QYLD. But QYLD is based on an index. It's not individual stocks. It doesn't have the risk of losing 50. Tesla could lose 50% of its value. It could, right? It's volatile as hell. But QILD is based on an index. So it's probably not going to have it's not the same risk.
Over time for the exact reasons you just mentioned. Think about YieldMax as a way of generating alternative income, right? Great. It means I end up multiple times. And so you're right. So while it's part of the reason why we're active, because we don't want.
He says it's alternative income is how because it's not a replacement for stocks. He even says it here. It's not a replacement for stocks or bonds. It's alternative income. I don't even have that in my portfolio as a category. So interesting.
To limit that upside as much as we can. We want to capture as much yield as we can. So when the stock's on the downslide, we're selling calls on the way down. But we like to give ourselves that out of the money gap. So when the market does have an upside move, we're capturing some of that. And
they sell puts. If they think it's going to go up, they're going to buy calls. If they think it's down, they'll do other friggin' shenanigans.
The theory here is, yes, we'll generate enough yield over time that when you reinvest those dividends, you're keeping your portfolio at a similar size.
So they don't keep any of the yield. They give it to you. So then you basically have to give them back the yield that they produce to you. Do you see what they're doing? So there's no living on, there's no fire. You're not going to fire with this thing.
As when you start, that you can help avoid some of that decline in your position value.
Yeah.
So you can check it out. There's more there, but he does cover some stuff there, which is good. There's this guy, it will pay your bills. And then he's got videos like hiking, which is funny. And this guy's got I think one of his videos, he had he had quite a bit of money actually. I don't know which one was it? He had 1.4 million in a video. So yeah, I made I made 37 grand in 30 days. So he's doing very high yield, covered call and speculative ETFs. If he's got over 1 million, he's generating a lot. So dude, stay safe out there, brother. I don't want you to lose your shirt on this. So forth. So this guy does he identifies what I identify, dividend dude. I will give him credit. So he spots it and he says right at the beginning.
And I'm going to be covering why I do not think they're a good investment. And I think this is the classic yield trap.
Yield trap. Yes.
Dividend yield trap, where something is appealing to investors with a high dividend yield. People invest in it and they.
Now, how many videos we've seen here? We've looked at other channels. There's a lot of these channels. They don't really even talk about what's in this, how it invests, what's the objectives in the prospectus. They just showed you the cover page and then they looked at the chart and then the payments. So yeah, yield
they
trap
get burned.
or yield
I
trap.
think that's what's going to happen with these YieldMax ETFs. That's my opinion. I'm not saying don't go invest in them, and I'm not saying invest in them.
So you identify what I did. They're just going to deteriorate over time. Said the same thing.
Case with TSLY, and I think it's just the case with a lot of other stuff in life. There's no way to get rich quick, and chasing.
That's pretty much it. It's too good to be true. 70% yield on these things. That it's just should have warning bells off in your head, I think.
A dividend yield strategy as it relates to Tesla, regardless of end income or dividend, a lot better than TSLY. And this is
You could have just bought Tesla. If you like Tesla so much, just buy Tesla. I mean, and you could sell covered calls on Tesla owning the stock.
in total return, includes. I think
It's a yield trap. He said it. There you go. This guy, he's one of my recommended channels on my main page. Maybe I'd love to talk to him someday. So he's retired and he lives off these things. So he does pretty deep analysis because he's going to retire because he's literally living on these investments. And he doesn't always buy every one he reviews. So he has he's doing pretty good. I enjoy his videos. He's very well spoken, good research. It's funny though, when he reviews one of these funds and he says bad things about them, all of a sudden the portfolio manager comes on for an interview like right after. And I think it's like 3 times.
These YouTubers said they bought
Or it's kind of funny.
TSLY for its enormous yield.
So here's the problems.
The fund strategy will cap its potential gains if Tesla shares increase in value. The fund strategy is subject to all potential losses if Tesla shares, specifically selling covered calls on 100% of the portfolio caps the upside at 15%. And Tesla is a stock.
So this we saw this in the prospectus. The strike price about 550 or more than the current share price sale, generate income. However, they have slim potential upside. Yeah, there you go.
Stock that can drop by more than 15%. It could drop 50% or worse. The core issue and the whole point of this video is that TSLY captures all of the downside of Tesla.
This is it. This is all we talked about this on part 2. This is in the end, the only question is the time factor. How long will it take for this to destroy this fund? I mean, the math here is unequivocal. It's just a matter of how long it'll take because they're going to be right. They're going to be wrong. So they could go on a run of being right more than wrong. So it's just, but in the end, it's going to end the same regardless.
Stock, but only a limited portion of the upside. Now,
like I said, as the fund loses capital, the NAV goes down. They're going to have to either make riskier contracts to keep their premium up with less funds, or they're going to have to stay, further away from the strike or something, and then they're generating less premium and less. So then you're going to get less of a distribution. So they have 2 crappy options as this goes along.
Drop in the stock price, you could recover that eventually with 100% gain in the Tesla stock price. But TSLY gains are capped at 15%. So if the downside is many times greater than the upside, then
so they write these they'll buy contracts 5 or 15% out of the money. So that's all you get.
Long term, the assets of the fund will gradually shrink. And as those assets shrink, they are capped at 15%. So if the downside is many times greater than the upside, then over the long term, the assets of the fund will gradually shrink. And
let's just think of easiest way I can put this. Let's say you were flipping a coin 50-50. If you land on heads, you win. I pay you 98 cents. If it lands on tails, you pay me $1. Okay. Or we can even literally, you could just change the percentages. Same idea. If you're right, I pay you 80 cents. If I'm right, you pay me $1. Let's Monte Carlo this into the future. At some point, I will win every time. It's just a matter of how many simulations, right? One simulation I could win. I could take all your money in 500 turns or 5,000 turns, but in the end, you will lose because the math is undeniable. I'm sorry.
And as those assets shrink, they can create fewer and fewer dividends. Remember?
Yes, because they'll have less money to write contracts, or they'll take more risks, and then short term that helps, but then that'll expose them to more deterioration.
That for an ETF, fundamental flaw that I don't think ILD.
And after that Jay guy saw this, he's like, oh, I'll come interview on the show because I got to protect the fund. So Ryan Williams did a video on it too, and he identifies and talks about it's a scam. So I think he labeled it at the end.
Comparing returns once again, just performing the actual stock. And so like I said, I really just don't see the point. TSLY is just the latest shiny object to hit the market, and more than anything is a distraction, and is most certainly not in alignment with what your main investment goal should be, which is to build a steady, reliable stream of cash flow that will continue to grow over a long period of time. There will always be
grow. You will not grow your distributions with Yieldmax unless you have to put all your income they give you back into the fund. Now, how is that going to work in fire or retirement? Like, where's the money you can pull without deteriorating your distributions? So it's not, this isn't how you're supposed to do this. You're supposed to look at things like accounts at McDonald's. McDonald's has grown its dividend at a rate of like, I think 6 to 8% over long periods of time. So you can look at the yield on cost. If you bought it 20 years ago, you're 15, 20% yield on cost. You can check my video on what yield on cost means. So you're not going to get that. It's a deterioration over time with Yieldmax. It just will fail. It just when. And I know some of you are going to say, well, if it's 70% yield, I'll get my money back in a year or two. And then I get my money returned to me, and then it's all gravy, right? It's all house money. Well, that doesn't make sense either, because it's like you're losing compounding time. That's the problem with that logic that if you told me that you're losing time compounding your returns with a normal dividend growth strategy, if you do this. So the house money is the dividend, like the idea of a dividend compounding snowball is what you should be pursuing. Like playing with house money. Okay, that you're gambling. I mean, it sounds like gambling, and your logic is flawed in that case. Sorry.
new things like.
So that says, I'll show this. We're almost done. This is the Yieldmax Reddit Discord. So somebody here wrote so they're talking about like the actual contract TSLY is written 245 short call survival. So we went over what it holds right now, which could be different by the time you watch this. First person's comment: they are a bit too aggressive on selling calls. Only fair if they want to generate income. This is what we've been talking about. They're being more aggressive to generate more income because they see the deterioration. And I think they're trying to stop that. So they're making a more aggressive contract writing strategy, hoping to get more yield back. So this is the problem. You're trusting these people in a back room, writing contracts, selling puts and all that stuff for you, while they collect a 1% management fee. Yep. So people are aware of this to some degree. So there it is. So anyways, that is my review of what's out there. I'm sure there's other stuff out there, but I don't know. I don't know what draws people to this strategy. I think it's just I don't think they're not understanding and appreciating the risks and flaws of this. They just look at the cover page, and then they look at the yield and the distributions, and then they do quick math with their 50 grand. They're like, wow, I could see some thousands of dollars a year. And that's all they know. But it's temporary. That's why I'm telling you, it won't last. And I hope you realize that it won't last before you lose substantial amount of money. So anyways, that's this. Watch for Sunday or early next week. I will have part 4, hopefully, unless it doesn't work out. The guy I'm going to interview is traveling, so he's in Africa. I think he said South Africa. So hopefully that'll work out, because I'd love to hear somebody actually. I think he sells a subscription service in this space. So I'd love to hear a professional's opinion. So hopefully we can do that in other videos too, maybe. So in the meantime, stay safe out there, and we'll see you later.
I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit, I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up. I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit, I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement. I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit, I got no love for the fakeness.
everything I do so instinctive and so passionate. Every word I move so descriptive like an adjective. I got a vendetta against people who patented being negative when you should be getting after it. I got facts over tracks, this and that, spitting slow, speaking fast, I can roast, I can gas, think I'm okay and last, but I don't know if that can erase all the past and the pettiness, a reflection of the emptiness, hilarious, you think you're worth my time, you're delirious, mysterious, because you hide behind a fake exterior, inferior, you know I'll always be a bit superior, get off of me, this ain't no humble brag, I want you to hear words, you can say them back, I want you to feel free from the chains at last, and to believe in what you got, it was built to last, yeah. Now that I've been put through hell, I never got anyone's help, I had to do it all myself. I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit, I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement. I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit, I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement. I'm gonna learn the consequence of being incompetent. Mental health is confidence, dreams and some modestness. I'm not here to save the day, that's for you to take away. I could play a million mind games, but instead I say something not illogical, something that is topical. Rub it on and watch it go, make yourself unstoppable.